Hi, Taylor T. Carlson here, and today we're going back to the silent era of film, but with a twist. One of the most legendary silent films of all time is Fritz Lang's 1920s masterpiece, Metropolis. In the mid-1980s, though, another filmmaker and legendary figure in the music world, Giorgio Moroder, did his own restoration. So that's what we're looking at today. On Blu-ray, restored for the first time ever, this is Giorgio Moroder presents Metropolis, his 1984 version of the film featuring music from then famous artists. I'm going to unbox this release and I will share my opinions. I believe this was originally released in theaters in 1984 and Kino first put out this Blu-ray in 2011. Under the paper slipcover there we have pretty much the same artwork. Inside the sleeve, we have an insert. This side has a letter from Giorgio Moroder about the restoration of this project. This side has a list of the chapters and the songs that appear in the film. Inside the package, we have our actual Blu-ray disc of the movie. Underneath, we have a nice panoramic shot from the film there of the gritty underworlds that we explore in the movie. I'll read the description of the movie as follows from the package. In 1984, Academy Award-winning composer Giorgio Moroder introduced Fritz Lang's science fiction epic Metropolis to a new generation of moviegoers. Working in collaboration with film archives around the world, he supervised a special reconstruction of the film with color tinting, fewer intertitles, and newly restored footage. A pioneer in the field of digital music, Moroder backed this special edition with a throbbing new score, punctuated with pop songs from some of the biggest stars of the early MTV era: Freddie Mercury, Pat Benatar, Adam Ant, Bonnie Tyler, Loverboy, and others. Unavailable on home video for more than 2 decades, Kino Classics is proud to revive the 1984 edition of Metropolis, a historic achievement in film restoration and a dramatic vehicle for the visionary music of Giorgio Moroder. Rather than substitute digitally enhanced footage from one of the restorations that have occurred in the 27 years since the release of Moroder's Metropolis, Kino Classics has chosen to present the film exactly as it appeared in 1984, mastered from an archival 35mm print. Metropolis was one of the biggest budget epics of the silent era, probably the last really big silent film to ever come out, not counting vanity projects that came out several decades later. And of course, the story revolves around the working class people in the underground and the wealthy class that lives up above in luxury. The man who first co-founded Metropolis and designed all the inventions, his son becomes curious about the plight of the workers in the lower class and he goes to investigate their goings-on. Meanwhile, a scientist who's a collaborator with his father has his own visions for what he'd like to do with the city, and it's not long before pretty much everything that can go wrong does go wrong. There have been many restorations of Metropolis, most of which have been a little more traditional. Giorgio Moroder tried something a little different. He added in color tinting sequences, a few extra special effects, color tinting where it was needed. He put in subtitles instead of intertitles, presumably to accelerate the runtime. The most complete known versions of Metropolis, I think, clock in right around 150 minutes. This version, which at the time was the most complete version of the film available, clocks in at about 80 minutes. And it's certainly a product of its era. A lot of these artists, of course, big hit artists in the MTV era, everyone from Freddie Mercury of Queen to John Anderson of Yes, and everyone makes some pretty great music on here. In fact, one of the artists that's credited on here is Cycle V, and that's actually Frank Domino, the lead singer of the classic 70s rock band Angel. There's also a credit for Cycle V on the Flashdance soundtrack, which also pretty heavily involved Moroder. This is an interesting look back into an attempt to not only restore, but for the era, modernize this film. For me, I don't think anything will ever be a substitute for a proper restored version, but Moroder's vision certainly merits a second look, and as a music fan and a movie fan, I had a lot of fun going back and checking this one out. Now, the picture quality on here does tend to be hit and miss due to some of the intertitles and optical effects and things like that, and a lot of the tinting effects and background shots and everything. It's restored to be the absolute best that it can look. It's not going to hold a candle to restorations of more traditional versions of the film, but I am happy to say overall it looks pretty decent for a film of this era, and certainly a project that's been tampered with to this extent by Moroder during his initial restoration. So I do think fans will at least find this one watchable and of decent quality. There are a handful of bonus features on here, including the original trailer and a documentary on silent films and their status in 1984, and some of the stuff that ultimately led up to the creation of this film. Not a whole lot in the way of supplements on here, but certainly stuff you'll want to watch if you're a fan. If you're a fan of 80s music, you're a fan of silent film, whoever you might be, there's probably going to be something for you here in Giorgio Moroder's Metropolis, and it's definitely worth checking out if you can get your hands on this disc. Do you think Metropolis is one of the greatest silent films ever made? What do you think about Giorgio Moroder's vision of this story? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.